Greetings, America, on this first day of December 2020. So, good, bad, or indifferent, it looks as though 2020 is in fact ticking away. But I guess the real question is all of the stuff that we're experiencing in 2020, is that going to go away? Um, and I realize it's been a while since I made a video, but it's okay. I think I have a whopping total of 4 to 6 viewers. So, the 4 or 6 of you, if you couldn't wait, you could have commented and said something, but that's okay. Uh, Selfishly speaking, this platform is more about me, just sort of exercising my thoughts. But if you are somebody who does view my channel regularly, feel free to leave a comment. Or if you see me out in public because you live local, uh, let me know if there's a subject you'd like me to address, or if you have a comment or something like that. I've had a few of those. And hopefully, here in the near future, I look forward to doing a Zoom call with a buddy of mine who's been responding. Um, Today's episode of Let's Talk, it's going to kind of flow all over the place as I address a handful of topics. And I've been attempting to make these short, like 15 minutes or less, and I just don't know that with my unique personality, if that's something I can do. Um, so what I kind of want to address today is the media hypocrisy and confirmation bias, kind of all in one. And I will try to do that in a relatively short form, but take as long as necessary. So, first things first, let's kind of knock out the media. So, I had posted a meme that I had shared from somebody else who had obviously shared it from the original creator, that COVID isn't the virus, the media is the virus. And I thought it was humorous, so I shared it. It wasn't that I was trying to further divide the country and create separation and blah, blah, blah. Um, During my second degree program, I was a cybersecurity major, and one of the courses I had to take dealt with like legal aspects and what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with a C. I don't know why I'm forgetting this. Uh, Something to do with like ethics, if you will. And one of the topics for a major paper we had to do, a major research paper, had something to do with the media in and of itself. Now, because I'm not too good at this and I don't have all this great equipment and production capabilities, I'm kind of going to paraphrase some of what I looked up. So, the media is a bit of a symptom as a result of the cure. So, to try to defend that statement, here goes. So, way back when, our founding fathers, one of the things they came up with was the First Amendment of the Constitution, which states, loosely translated, freedom of speech and freedom of the press. The big takeaway from that wasn't just our freedom of speech, where other countries actually have speech laws, like to the north of us, Canada. Canada has hate speech laws where comedians and personalities and people in general have been imprisoned for violating hate speech, for what the government can determine, is hateful. Um, but more so, this was in a direct response to like monarchies and whatnot, who, well, you said something mean about the king. It's like, okay, therefore you're going to be punished. And I kind of have some points I'd like to hit on that, but I really want to focus more so on the freedom of the press, which was removing government from the press, allowing the press as a society, as an entity, to be free and clear to report the facts objectively without fear of consequence from the government. Because again, you're talking about people who had fled Europe and various European countries where, historically speaking, European countries had monarchs, the king of this, the queen of that, and they enforced their brand of rule. Just like in certain Islamic nations, you still have a practice of Sharia law. So therefore, they were fleeing all sorts of things, religious tyranny from the Catholic Church and the Inquisitions, tyranny of monarchs. So they wanted the press to be free and clear to basically say what they wanted, whether it was opinion based, whether it was fact based, etc. So you fast forward to where we are today. So in because the press is free, which means it is privately owned, privately funded, that means it's owned, operated, and funded by private entities, up to and including LLCs. And I think I've mentioned this in previous videos. So that's where both the problem and the solution merge together. So you have these major conglomerates, these major LLCs that own major media companies, whether it's Fox and the umbrella corporation it's under, or whether it's CNN, MSNBC, and etc., and the umbrella corporation which they're under, in which case the shareholders, the owners and the operators of these big massive companies, if they have more conservative views, then of course their media platforms are going to espouse more conservative narratives, to include playing into certain confirmation biases. Same thing with the opposite. If it's more liberal based, socialist based, whatever the case, whatever label you want to put on it, progressive, you name it, then they're going to cater to that particular confirmation bias and project stories that support their specific confirmation bias, just like the opposite, where you essentially don't have anybody reporting anything down the middle as far as major mass medias. You may get as close to local media coverage where they're just like, it is what it is. This is what's going on. This is that. It just is what it is. It's not our job to interpret anything. It's just, here's what happened. And again, this kind of goes back to my political journey, but I will admit I've noticed major differences from when Obama first got elected as president and his 8-year term, and then the subsequent transition where Trump got elected and everything that has followed since he's been elected, where you essentially have had this complete and total attack, full-blown attack on Trump. Some of which I can agree he may have brought upon himself just through his own mannerisms and actions. Excuse me. Whew. But, to kind of go off on a tangent for a second, if Biden and Harris are legally elected, which they have not legally been declared elected yet, then by right, those of us who are in the center or right of center should have the freedom to just completely go after them the same way the opposite side has gone after Trump. But I think I've already said that ad nauseum, so I kind of want to pull away from that. So the problem you have is within the media, if I all of a sudden owned a media organization and my views are more center right, okay, where in my introduction videos, I've made mention that I'm not very religious, as in I don't practice religion at all, which is one of my freedoms to do as an American. I don't condemn or hate people with religion. It's just not my thing. I'm not a big fan of some of the things that have occurred in the name of religion. But I've also found that certain people with faith can be very accepting. But either way, I'm not 100% against abortion. I could probably think of several reasons why abortion may be necessary. And these are just, I'm just throwing out a couple of things here and there. But if I own the platform, then, I can control what is said. When I hire people, I can be like, hey, these are the sort of things I like, and these are the sort of things I support. So if you enjoy your paycheck, cater to my bias. Okay? So the press is free from governmental control to say what they want. But when they're free to say what they want, what I think gets lost in translation is not just confirmation bias, but whether or not it has been openly stated that you are watching opinion-based commentary versus factual reporting. And I think a lot of people who have risen to fame on either side have done so under the pretense of opinion-based commentary and not, hi, I'm a full-blown fact-based reporter, I'm going to hit you with some facts. Or when they do attempt to hit you with facts, the problem is these facts are cherry-picked to support their confirmation bias, which leads me to confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is dangerous, but it's inevitable. Um, in my video dedicated to my political journey, I more or less alluded to the fact that I have a tremendous amount of confirmation bias specifically against Democrats. Um, and I'll put it to you like this. When I hear Democrat, I kind of like make the direct association with the Confederacy, with the KKK, uh, with segregation, with the inability to vote. I just automatically make these correlations. Whether modern day Democrats have any, similarities or directly represent those values today doesn't matter. It's just like when, some people hear Nazi, they automatically associate that term with some of the most negative things about the Nazi Party, which, don't be confused, I'm not saying, well, there was some good things about the Nazi Party. I'm just saying that, there's an automatic mental connection. So for me, yeah, I have a tremendous amount of confirmation bias against the Democratic Party. Um, that being said, confirmation bias can be terribly difficult to deal with, especially if you're trying to remain objective and specifically if you're trying to keep an open mind. Um, Under normal circumstances, I would not be a fan of AOC or the Squad, and I've more than likely shared a meme or two portraying something negative about them because policy-wise, yeah, they're a bit too extreme for me. But I meant what I said. Um, you can't be an objective person and deny the fact that someone like AOC has passion, has fire in the belly, has tenacity. But at the same time, you can also acknowledge, yes, but you're dedicating a lot of energy towards some really stupid stuff. What's really gotten to me is in conjunction with the media, somehow the overwhelming majority of media seems to be left leaning, uh, not traditional liberal, but like progressive liberal, almost to the point of extreme left wing. And in conjunction with that, follows celebrities, the overwhelming majority of celebrities who entertain us. And I use this term loosely, whether it's music, whether it's television, movies, or even sports. Um, the overwhelming majority of these celebrity profiles tend to fall into that category, and I wonder sincerely how much of it is genuine. Like I genuinely believe in these things. That's how I was raised. These are my core values versus I enjoy the ability to earn a living. I enjoy the ability to stay employed. So therefore, I'm going to go with this. And I say that from a place where I was once in the military, in which case, militarily speaking, you didn't have an opinion. As an individual, you have an opinion. You can express that opinion when you go vote. Otherwise, when you show up to work in uniform to do your job, you don't have an opinion. Okay? You do exactly what you're told to do. And, you can look at however you want. I know there are some people who admire the military. There are some people who despise the military. It just is what it is. We did what we were told. And if that tends to be the unspoken norm within certain celebrity figures, okay, I get it. Um, it's not really brave, but at the same time, I have a wife, children, a mortgage, bills. I get it. Um, the thing that I find bothersome, and social media has really played into this, is when celebrities kind of do things similar that because I don't want to be accused of being a hypocrite. Because even though on this platform here, this Let's Talk, I'm attempting to be objective and I want people to talk and I want us to overcome our biases as much as we can, try to find common ground, etc. And I don't want to dehumanize people. I've shared my fair share of memes. Um, but like one of the worst things I've ever done is I created an Instagram account, and I've said this numerous times. And my wife encouraged me to do so because if there's somebody whose performance you like and you want to keep up with what they're doing so you can follow them to other, you know, projects, Instagram is a great way to do that. And what I've noticed with Instagram is the overwhelming majority of celebrities seem to lean heavily to the left, some more militantly than others. And when you put this all together with confirmation bias in the media, it's like, first and foremost, the media seems to be driving narratives. Once again, I feel like there's more left-leaning media outlets than there are right-leaning media outlets, and there's like next to nobody in the middle. Now, I'm sure somebody out there could probably name one or two outlets that are directly down the middle and call it like it is, but for the most part, like when I go to the gym, all right, you literally have Fox News and CNN on two opposing television sets, and I've often joked I'm just waiting for the two TVs to begin fighting with one another, because when you're sitting there trying to do your cardio, if you look up at these television sets, they are literally talking about the same thing oftentimes together, but from two different vantage points. And I'll give you a really good example. You know, you want to talk about division and polarizing topics, just take COVID. Um, for the most part, you have the left-leaning media and left-leaning people like Democrats, you know, attempting to shut everything down, quarantine, and hope to God this goes away, under the pretense that we're not going to spread it. And they don't seem to be talking too favorably about the vaccines, unless maybe, but to be honest, I don't really watch the news. Normally I've got something on my phone and I'm just rocking out or something, and I occasionally look up. Um, and then on the flip side, you know, you might have Fox News, where they seem to be talking more about, you know, the Trump investigations and whatnot. And it's just, it's a whole dynamic of topics that would really cause me to lose focus. Depending on which media outlet you use, you tend to get opposing viewpoints on COVID. And even when I go to research COVID, the one thing that has remained consistent worldwide, worldwide, the death rate is somewhere around 2.4%, which would make the survivability rate of people who have contracted COVID 97.6%. Within the United States, the current purported numbers of actual confirmed cases versus actual deaths, and we don't even know if those deaths are actually COVID versus something else, and it's been given the COVID blame or the COVID label. We're looking at just under 2%, where if you want to round up, because it's like 0.0197, something like that, you can call it 2%, which would then mean within the United States, our survival rate for people who catch COVID is right around 98%. Now, let's be fair and let's be clear. If it happens to you, you are a percent of 100. You are 100%. Okay? That is all that matters right now, is that either you have it, your family has it, etc. To include the people who have been adversely affected by COVID, I am not diminishing or minimizing them whatsoever. You know, it's just, I asked this in a previous video, is our response proportionate? Okay, and then this is where you get so many different, you know, rabbit holes that come from this. Okay, because, you know, you potentially have one media outlet, panic, 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 shut everything down, close all the businesses, except for stuff like Walmart and Amazon and, you know, these massive, massive companies that make trillions of dollars. And you know, let's invite Bill Gates, because all of a sudden, you know, the guy who invents software to run a computer system is now all of a sudden a subject matter expert on COVID. Okay. Again, I don't understand that, but it is what it is. So, you start talking about the how the actual virus is the media itself, because what are the facts? Are we being given the facts, or is the media attempting to control, our confirmation bias? The latest thing right now is in our state of North Carolina, you pretty much have to wear a mask anywhere you go. And I think the mandate said at least until the 11th of this month, which means even when I go to the gym, I have to wear a mask in the gym. Fine, whatever. Okay, I'll wear the mask. Okay, but then, you know, unfortunately, due to COVID, I've had quite a bit of time on my hands. So, I watch commentary here and there. Um, and even then, you hear these celebrities and they're so whimsical and oh, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, just do this. Oh, just do the quarantine, or is it really worth this? And it's like, okay, these are terribly easy positions for you to take, especially if your finances provide you the opportunity to live comfortably. I've been out of work because of COVID. All right. I am living off of my wife's wages. I'm living off of my military retirement, which is not a golden parachute whatsoever. And I'm also living off of the disability I've earned through the VA from my service related conditions for abusing my body on behalf of this country for 20 years. All right. These are things I've earned, and I still have to work. We are barely making ends meet because we kept our tax return, and my wife is currently working. She substitute teaches. Without it, things would be in peril. All right, we would probably have to start liquidating personal belongings that have anything. As it is, our Christmas is going to suck. Um, Worse than that, I had to file for unemployment just to help pick up the slack while I wait to go back to work. So, having completed that tangent, I think it's disingenuous where some of these celebrities like, oh, oh this or oh that, and it's like, well, that's a very easy position for you to take, because the majority of us who, you know, possibly look up to you for some reason, as if your opinion has actual value. All right, and I realize that sounds horribly harsh, but try to understand the whole context to that. I'm an actor or an actress, I'm a musician, I'm an athlete. Here's my opinion, because my opinion is based on the life that I live. um I think in some cases it's terribly easy as well as dangerous. you know um I remember, you know right now it's COVID, but I will make this promise to you. If and when COVID does eventually come to an end, there'll be something new. There will be something new. And all it's going to do is the media outlets are going to pick a topic that they have decided is going to be biting. It's going to be popular. And tragically, whether this is their intent or not, it's going to be divisive. Now, I'm not one to suggest grand conspiracies, but to go back to Joe Rogan, if it bleeds, it leads, right? So the media will again focus on topics that, whether intentionally or not, divide the country into echo chambers and tribal allegiances. Which is why I reinforce the statement that COVID is not the virus, media is the virus, because it exacerbates our own personal confirmation biases. Um, and it literally forces us into these little tribal corners, these little echo chambers. And COVID is just one massive example because of how it's currently impacting us. And I'll try to wrap this up here. You hear a lot of different stuff about Joe Biden, if he does eventually take over the White House and proven to be legally elected. Um, He's going to raise taxes. He's going to do these things to guns, and he's going to, give citizenship, or pave the way for citizenship for like millions of undocumented illegal aliens and whatnot. And you know, it's just certain things that are disheartening, because I think it's patronizing, and I think it's placating to, a desirable voter base, which I think is hilarious, because some of these people who may be undocumented are fleeing socialistic socialistic countries that will probably never vote for anybody who leans socialist. The other thing too is, you start talking about this election, right? So you have an entire political party that dedicated the last 4 years to undermining the current president. Now, don't get me wrong. Personally, he was very difficult to deal with sometimes. I spoke to someone, my therapist, and I was like, Trump was primarily a businessman, and I know there's thousands to millions of you out there. Well, he wasn't a good businessman. He sucked. He was a bad business. Bankruptcy. I don't care. Oh my God, I don't care. I think when you look at some of the business decisions Trump's made for the country, they've been very beneficial. I think where Trump has earned the most significant amount of criticism is where he was way out of his depth, from, let's just call it, a political position, where I think him and Vice President Pence should have found a way to separate and split up responsibilities. Um, I don't know if Trump was necessarily the best person to deal with the Joint Chiefs of Staff and all that, based on his relationships and like the DOJ and all of that stuff. Perhaps somebody with a little bit more political candor, like Mike Pence, should have been the one to deal with that, while Trump focused on stuff that, benefited us economically. But that's just my 2 cents. Getting back on point, the Democratic Party and all their sympathizers, have spent the last 4 years undermining President Trump, where, for me at least, agree to disagree. For me, it is not at all beyond comprehension that the Democratic Party, in any way, shape, or form, whether, individual actors or, actual party itself, found a way to meddle and do anything with this election. I think what we're witnessing is the results of what happens when you do not concede your loss, when you actually contest a loss. Is that, fact finders have to go out and verify what actually happened, and now we're starting to see, if you're actually paying attention in the proper channels, that some jackassery and some tomfoolery happened. That being said, I already made my video on the Electoral College, and while the media is doing a horrific job of reporting on the election stuff, even if these quote unquote battleground states, if their electoral votes are washed away because they mishandled the election, I don't know if Trump has enough votes to win. In which case, personally, I don't know how a Biden Harris presidency will directly impact me individually, but I do think it will adversely impact the country, in which case I go back to the whole statement I made a couple videos ago. I don't know that our current two-party system is the way forward. I had a great conversation over the weekend with a couple of guys at a business. It just happened randomly and organically, and the one guy apparently lives in DC, and he said the vast majority of us live in the purple. And I was like, yeah, but that shouldn't be our only color choices. Red and blue shouldn't be the only color choices. We're, well, I like some of this and I like some of that, so I'm more of a purple person. Well, who cares? You know, and the fact that, people, if they want to succeed in politics, they have to pick a side, which means they have to be consciously aware of, stuff like media coverage, because of how biased the media is, and, how biased America is. But, what do I know? I'm just a redheaded idiot. So, please, by all means, whether you like or hit the notification bell, it is what it is. I'm not looking to gain anything from this. I'm really just trying to see if there's anybody willing to interact and, you know, perhaps cross party lines and just have a conversation. So with that in mind, that's all I got.